Okay, so first I want to talk about this question, okay, that you see right now. So that day, I was very thrown off because of this letter B yang kena circle ini ya. So saya balik-balik saya fikirkan kenapa ini. Okay, so the idea is this lah. The suction pump, actually this is not a suction pump. This is called a pelocok. What is a pelocok called? It's not a suction pump lah, but okay fine. Even if it is a suction pump, if it is pulled upwards, apa yang akan terjadi is when before it is pulled upwards, when you push it downwards kan, kamu menolak semua air keluar. Okay, that's basically the same premise that we've been talking about, the straw lah, you know, or the rubber sucker. Okay, when you press it down, you're basically pushing all the air out. So when you pull it up, this area, okay, will become a vacuum. So this and this is correct. This is definitely out already lah. Okay, so this area inside the suction pump will be a vacuum. And because of that, the atmospheric pressure dari luar will push the kotoran inside over here. Okay, I'm not saying that alamak kenapa ini? Biasanya bila kita when we want to use the suction pump, right, we want the dirt to go downwards, bah. Okay, but because this is being pulled upwards, okay, disebabkan ini tolak ke atas dan di sini adalah vacuum. Inside over here is a vacuum, so there's no air over there. So because of that, the atmospheric pressure will push all the dirt upwards, okay, into the vacuum. Because in the vacuum there is no air and there's no air to stop the dirt from going up. Okay, so actually the answer to this will be A. Okay, I repeat, the answer to this will be A because the vacuum in this one is correct. Okay, inside a suction pump, when you already take out all the air, inside here will be vacuum. So logically, if the vacuum is here, the atmospheric pressure will always go towards the vacuum. Okay, because you know, it's easily winning lah. Wow, easily winning. Okay, so yeah, I hope that kind of explains this answer lah. I'm not sure why this person circled B though. It's a bit confusing for me. Okay, so today we want to talk about certain applications of atmospheric pressure. Okay, and the other day we already established this that where there is a relationship between altitude and atmospheric pressure. Okay, and as you can see here, the higher the height, okay, the higher you go up the mountain, okay, the lower the atmospheric pressure will be. At sea level, it is about 100,000 pascals. But actually, that day we counted what? It's 1013 something. But okay, pascals. It's a lot lah. Okay, but we find that at 5,600 meters above sea level, it's about 50,000. An aircraft that is traveling about 11,000 meters, okay, will have an atmospheric pressure on the outside. I'm not talking about inside the plane. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a little while, but outside the plane, the atmospheric pressure is 25,000 pascals. So sangat rendah, okay, berbanding dengan when you're at the sea level. Okay, pada paras kita sekarang, we are at sea level, so it's about 100,000 pascals. Okay, the pressure in space, okay, is almost zero. The atmospheric pressure in space is almost zero because there's no air in space. Space is a vacuum. So because there's no air, there's no atmospheric pressure lah. Okay, so this relationship we already established before. Okay, the bigger the altitude, the lower the atmospheric pressure. Okay, so we want to explain this. Okay, and this explanation is pretty important lah. Okay, I will just go through it now. Later, what I want you to do is to make sure that you jot down this this explanation somewhere lah. Okay, either in your exercise book or whatever lah. Okay, by considering the weight of the air at various altitudes, explain why atmospheric pressure differs at different altitudes. So at higher altitudes, when you're high up here, okay, the density and the temperature of the air is lower. Okay, because number one, you're further away from the surface of the earth, you're further away from the center of the earth, so the temperature is lower. Secondly, there's less air. Okay, because you're going further and further up into space lah. So as a result, the frequency of collisions of molecules is lower. Now, the collisions of molecules, pelanggaran molekul dengan kita, okay, pelanggaran molekul udara dengan kita, itu yang menyebabkan pressure. Okay, because remember, the basic formula for pressure is force over a certain area. So, bila ada daya pada satu luas tertentu, akan terasa tekanan. So because there is less air on the higher altitude, there will be less force. And because there's less force, you will have less pressure. Okay, so we call this the frequency less force lah, sebab kekerapan pelanggaran molekul dengan kamu adalah berkurangan. That's why the atmospheric pressure is lower. Okay, basically it just says that less air means less collision. Less collision means less force. Less force means less pressure. Okay? Apa ni? Sorry. Oh, okay, transition pula. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the effects of atmospheric pressure at high altitude, okay, and the effects of pressure at extreme depths under the surface of the sea. So, you know, at sea level, atmospheric pressure is very normal to us. But when we go to high altitudes, for example, you climb mountain, you go on an airplane and you go, you know, up in the air, okay, or you go diving. Okay, I'm not sure how many of you over here have a diving license. Well, I don't have a diving license for sure, but you know, I don't know how many of you have parents or brothers or sisters that have diving license. Actually, it's pretty interesting to go for a diving license because you learn that diving is not just, you know, terus masuk dalam air and then whoa, macam tu. It's a lot of work that goes into taking a diving license. Okay, diving, not driving. Okay, so effects of atmospheric pressure at high altitude. So one of the effects is increase in the rate of breathing. You'll be breathing a lot faster, a lot more actually. Okay, kalau di tempat yang biasa kan low altitude like us, our breathing is normal. When you go to a place of high altitude, okay, your breathing rate will increase. Why? Because there is a lower absorption of oxygen in the lungs. Why is there a lower absorption of oxygen? Because there's less oxygen at high altitude. Okay, I mentioned this in our first class. When you go, I mean, if you ever get a chance to go and climb Mount Kinabalu, you will realize this lah, that up in the peak, somehow dekat-dekat dengan puncak itu kan, udara sangat nipis. A lot of people akan cakap begini lah, the air is very thin. Okay, but actually it's just there's less air, there's less atmospheric pressure, okay, at high altitudes. So because of that, there's less oxygen. And because of that, less oxygen is going into your lungs. That's why you have to breathe a lot more. You'll be like, padahal you're just walking, you know, you're not even running. Okay, but it feels like you're running because the rate you're breathing is like that lah. Okay, so there's an increase in your metabolic rate. And usually people who climb mountains will lose their appetite lah. I think the fourth time, this is not a very good story to tell, especially if you have not had breakfast. The fourth time the last year I went climbing Mount Kinabalu. So I went 4 times. So the first 3 times I had no problem lah. So last year when I went climbing, as we were going up to the peak, I didn't really eat much actually. I remember I just ate like 2 pieces of bread and one telur rebus lah. One hard-boiled egg. But as I was climbing up, I was like, why do I feel so funny, you know? And I felt like I was very dizzy and everything lah. And then I had to vomit everything out in order to feel better. Okay, then I realized, wow, okay, so this atmospheric pressure really plays a very important role lah. Okay, dalam kamu punya appetite pun dia memainkan peranan yang penting. Okay, at places with high altitudes, a lot of people usually lose their appetite. Okay, like they don't feel like want to eat much lah. Okay, because of the change in pressure, so your breathing also changes. When your breathing changes, everything in your body feels a little bit funky lah at the moment. Okay, this is very normal. Okay, you also experience a lot of dehydration because number one, you're sweating, but you don't really feel very sweaty. So that's a joke, kan? Okay, and because you don't feel very sweaty, you don't feel very thirsty either. And because you don't feel thirsty, you don't drink water. And when you don't drink water, you get dehydration. You be like, okay. Tiba-tiba kau rasa macam kau punya tekak sangat kering. Okay, and this is a very common thing that we always see lah. Somehow, when you're at high altitude, there's not enough oxygen that is going into your brains. Because, you know, you're using all the oxygen to climb the mountain. Okay, so usually, sometimes you find that at high altitudes, your ability to think clearly macam hilang ba. Okay, so I've climbed with people before that are usually very friendly, you know, and usually when we like okay, so usually like when we climb mountain, we like to encourage people like, okay, 加油, 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 or you can do this, you can do this. But and I have a friend that's very good at doing that. But when we were climbing up the mountain together and we were doing this the entire time now, but near to the peak, right? He came up to me and said, Marcus, don't say anything to me anymore. If you say something, I will surely scold you. Which is something that he's never said to me in his entire life. He'll never get angry. When he's the kind of person that never gets angry. But up on the mountain, really, you just don't feel that you can think clearly. Okay, it's the first time in my entire life that I heard him tell me, Marcus, shut up. Don't talk to me. I don't listen to you. Okay, it's not him lah. Okay, and then I realized, actually this atmospheric pressure really sometimes messes with your mind as well. Okay, that's why climbing Mount Kinabalu, half of the battle actually is in the brain. Okay, it's not your body, it's not your body that is yang mogok, Sebenarnya is kamu punya otak. Okay, so how did I manage to climb Mount Kinabalu 4 times? Okay, that's all I can say. Okay, this one is very important. Okay, bukan kepandaian hello, it's not your intelligence, it's just mind over matter lah. Okay, you have to realize that at high altitudes, the atmospheric pressure really plays with your brain. Okay, and kamu akan rasakan, if you ever climb mountain lah, kamu akan rasa macam kamu mau give up lah. Okay, I don't know how many of you have climbed the mountain, but I know that I have felt this way lah. When I was climbing mountain, I feel like, saya berhenti sajalah di sini. Okay, it's like another 100 more meters to go, 100 meters to us is nothing. Okay, but 100 meters on Mount Kinabalu is everything. Okay, it's like forever lah. Okay, you really feel 100 meter saja pun alang-alang lah kan, saya duduk di sini sajalah, tak payahlah pergi sampai ke puncak. Okay, but you really have to tell your mind, this is the atmospheric pressure that is playing tricks with me. Jangan kalah kepada low atmospheric pressure. Okay, so if any one of you want to go climbing Mount Kinabalu, okay, don't forget this. Okay, atmospheric pressure is very important. Okay, another thing is what to do. Okay, ini macam briefing untuk pergi mendaki gunung pula kan ni hari. Okay, so of course, if you want to go climbing, you must prepare, you must train lah. Okay, you cannot just okay, let's go climbing and then ini bukan mau naik Bukit Botak kah atau mau naik Bukit Padang. Okay, this is Gunung Kinabalu. Okay, it's not even a bukit, it's a gunung. Okay, so you have to prepare and you train. Of course, you have to prepare equipment lah. If you have a smartwatch that can measure altitude, blood pressure, and body temperature, okay, that's very good lah. Okay, climb at a slow rate. One of the biggest mistakes that people always do is try to be hero lah. Okay, siapa yang duluan sampai. Okay, and then lepas itu bila kau duluan sampai kan, terus kau di atas sana tu terus muntah semua keluar. Okay, I've seen this too many times. Okay, the good thing about climbing at a slow rate is you give your body a chance to adjust to the change in pressure. And this is very important because remember, our body, we are built to withstand atmospheric pressure at sea level. Okay, remember in the first class I said, how do we counter the atmospheric pressure that's pressing on us? Because our body itself, the fluids in our body, okay, semua cecair dalam bendalir lah, the air and the blood and the water in our body is actually pressing back against the atmospheric pressure. But when you go up the mountain, the atmospheric pressure is less and your body is still giving out the same amount of pressure. So there is an imbalance in pressure over there. You see, but by climbing slowly, you're giving your body the chance to adjust. Okay, that's why the climbers will always say lah, okay, climb slowly. Okay, it is not a time trial lah, like siapa yang duluan sampai. Okay, don't need to be hero one, because at the end also kamu sampai juga kan. So give your body time to adjust to the change in pressure. That's very important. Okay, and of course drink water lah. Okay, when not thirsty, to prevent dehydration. Okay, habis sudah bercakap pasal mendaki gunung. Sekarang kita pergi terbang. Sorry, today it's just me talking lah. So it's just Mr. Marcus doing a lot of talking. So since we already climbed mountain, the next thing to do is to fly on an airplane lah. Okay, so I remember when I was climbing Mount Kinabalu, so I had a friend who's from Semenanjung lah, so he was coming down. Then I said, oh, so when is your flight? Oh, after this lah, I go down from the mountain terus naik airplane. So I'm like, Wow. Dia naik gunung, turun dari gunung, pergi ke lapangan terbang, lepas tu terbang lagi balik. So you know, this change in atmospheric pressure is like, how does the body handle it lah? Okay, so why does the pressure in a plane cabin, which fly at high altitude, must be maintained at atmospheric pressure? Walaupun dia naik ke atas, walaupun the airplane, okay, flies at a very high altitude, di luar adalah atmospheric pressure rendah. But inside the plane, they must maintain the same atmospheric pressure at sea level, which is about 101300 pascals. Yeah, okay, 101,300 pascals of pressure inside the plane cabin. Okay, why? So number one, the higher the altitude, the lower the atmospheric pressure. So outside the plane, there's a low atmospheric pressure. Okay, the pressure in our body must balance with the pressure in the cabin. Okay, so that's why that's why the cabin pressure must be the same as the atmospheric pressure. Otherwise, can you imagine if they don't even bother? Okay, if let's say the airplane, tak payahlah, we don't need this technology lah. Biarlah semua orang itu dia orang merasakan apa atmospheric pressure yang rendah. We will suffer, because our body is always fighting back. Okay, so if our body suddenly bila terbangkan dia pergi ke satu tempat yang low atmosphere kan, we are going to suffer. Okay, we are going to be like vomit everywhere because our body is still fighting the atmospheric pressure yang original. Okay, that's why the pressure in the cabin must be the same as the normal atmospheric pressure, which is 101,000 lah. Okay, 1.03 times 10 to the power of 5. Okay, pascals. Okay, so what will happen if our plane windscreen broke suddenly? Okay, so what happens is because the pressure in the cabin is bigger than the atmospheric pressure outside. So you imagine, let's say this is you in the airplane, okay, and this is outside lah. Okay, this is the outside, and we know that over here the atmospheric pressure is lower. Inside here, the atmospheric pressure is higher. Sebab in the airplane, the airplane, the atmospheric pressure in the airplane is going to be the same as the one at sea level. Okay, so what happens? If this one, you watch enough movies, you know what happens. What happens? If let's say this window can suddenly break, what's going to happen? The air inside will gush out. Thank you, Louis. Okay, so obviously the air inside will gush out lah. Okay, because di dalam adalah atmospheric pressure tinggi, and di luar adalah atmospheric pressure rendah. So the inside over here, which has the high atmospheric pressure, everything will go up. And because the air will gush out, like Louis said, we all also gush out together with the air, kan? If you see enough movies, you surely know this one. Everything inside the cabin will surely go out, which includes the people, your bag, your handphone, whatever things that you're holding on to. Everything will go out. Okay, because they have to follow the atmospheric pressure inside the cabin that is trying to rush out because it's high pressure. Okay, so still other adaptations and actions that to be taken in an aircraft to minimize the effects of atmospheric pressure. Okay, so number one, we find that usually airplane companies, they recycle the air in the cabin so that it's fresh and contains adequate oxygen level. Okay, so if you ever wonder why sometimes, like if you've ever sat in a plane, sometimes kind of why we can see the air coming out from the air vents, right, the aircon vents, okay, that's basically to provide enough oxygen for everybody on the plane. When there's not enough oxygen in the plane, can you imagine? Okay, so first of all, you need to imagine that inside the plane, correct lah, the pressure is high, it's the same as atmospheric pressure, but there's a lot of people in the plane. And if there's a lot of people in the plane, there's going to be a lot of people breathing. Have you ever wondered why is it that the carbon dioxide levels why is it still like, why don't we feel like hotter, or why is it that there's still enough oxygen even after say 13-hour, 14-hour flight, there's still enough oxygen. Okay, because in the plane there's this technology that number one takes out air from the outside, number one, and the other one is it also recycles the air in the cabin. Okay, so that it's continually providing oxygen to you, even if it is in such a long period of time when you're flying. Okay, number two, we increase the pressure in the aircraft cabin, okay, to match the sea level pressure. Because when you increase the pressure in the aircraft cabin, you give enough oxygen to everybody. And that's very important. Okay, imagine if the aircraft cabin has the same pressure as outside. Okay, correct lah, nothing will fly out. But the not so good thing is there's not going to be enough oxygen. Okay, because you're not flying at Mount Kinabalu level. No, you're flying at like 11,000 meters. Again, it's a lot of there's very little oxygen left at that particular altitude lah. So we need to make sure that the pressure is the same as the sea level pressure. Okay, third one, and this is always lah, remind passengers to drink enough water to prevent dehydration during long distance flights. Okay, so usually 13-hour, 14-hour flights, and there'll be a lot of water served. You can ask for drinks lah. Okay, all right, let's go. So since we already talked about mountain, then we talk about flying on airplane. Now let's talk about space. Okay, so outer space is the space outside the Earth's atmosphere. And outside the Earth's atmosphere, there is no atmospheric pressure. So if there's no atmospheric pressure, why does the astronauts need to wear a special suit? Why can't they wear a normal suit? Okay, because number one, pressure in outer space is zero. So there's no pressure outside that is pressing on you. But because of that, the body's pressure is going to push out, okay, and push out towards nothing, So kamu punya badan kan macam itu kapal terbang tadi lah. Okay, outside is low pressure, inside your body is high pressure. So everything in your body is trying to come out. Okay, which is why if you don't wear, I don't know how many of you have watched this, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Remember when Yondu was, bila dia sudah kena hantar keluar kan, then you see, no, not Yondu, something like, I can't remember lah, okay, but you see that dia punya kulit mengelupas lah, and then everything is coming out, from the ears, from the nose and everything. I'm not really sure whether it's Guardians of the Galaxy 2 or another space movie lah. But when you go into outer space, okay, and you don't have anything to cover you, anything to this one, what's going to happen? Low pressure outside your body, inside your body is high pressure. So everything inside your body is going to want to come out. So daripada kamu punya sweat glands lah, kamu punya lubang pimple lah, kamu punya lubang hidung semua, everything is going to come out. Okay, it's not a very nice thing to see lah. Okay, pressure in the body is higher because we are built that way lah. So it can be dangerous because this crushes our body. Okay, so we need to have a special suit so that the pressure inside the suit will match the pressure in our body. And that's why the astronaut suit, okay, this astronaut suit over here, okay, is very heavy, it's very heavy, it's very big because it carries enough equipment to make sure that inside the suit, okay, the pressure is the same as the sea level pressure. Okay, basically every astronaut suit is like one small or one mini airplane. Okay, pretty much the same technology is involved. Okay, so that's why people need to train when they go to outer space. Okay, because number one, they not only have to wear this. Okay, they not only have to wear this extremely heavy suit, but they also have to get used to this difference in pressure. So it's not easy actually to become an astronaut lah. Okay, so this is our good friend SMS, Sheikh Muzaffar Bakan. Okay, so the training he went through. If you've ever seen an interview with Sheikh Muzaffar, okay, you should go and watch his interview. He explains lah how he became an astronaut. It's not that easy, it's not just dia bukan macam mendaftar pergi sekolah. Okay, it's not that easy, You have to go through all this training because you have to prepare your body for the difference in atmospheric pressure. Okay, so what are the actions to be taken to the spacecraft that carries astronauts? Number one, you have to install oxygen generator okay, to supply oxygen to astronauts. Number two, the pressurization of the spacecraft cabin is very important. Inside the spacecraft cabin, you have to have atmospheric pressure, the same amount of pressure that you have on the Earth, so that the astronauts don't have to wear any special suit when they're inside the spacecraft cabin. Otherwise, if the pressure is not the same, they will always have to wear the space suit, which is very heavy and very hard to move lah. Okay, so that's why you have to pressurize the spacecraft cabin. Okay, now since we already climb mountain, go on an airplane, go to space, now let's go diving. Sorry, so many things to do today. Okay, so pressure at the extreme depth under the surface of the sea. Okay, now extreme depth is not the swimming pool depth. We're talking about extreme depths, like 100, 200 meters below the sea level. Okay, we're not talking like, oh, okay, swimming pool it's about 8 meters only. That's not extreme. Okay, extreme depth is like 100, 200 meters underneath the sea. Okay, so number one, when you increase the depth under the surface of the sea, your water pressure increases. Okay, and remember, the deeper you go, the bigger the water pressure is. Okay, we established that in the first subtopic. So an increase in the depth of 10 meters, every 10 meters, okay, is about 1 atmosphere. Sorry, by Q atmosphere, is 1 atmosphere. Okay, that means 1 atmosphere water, so 10 meters water, okay, 10 meters water is the same as 1.03 times 10 to the power of 5 pascals. Okay, so every meter, okay, every 10 meters you go, okay, is about 1.03 times 10 to the power of 5 pascals. Okay, so imagine if you're already underwater. Okay, so let's say you're only at this level. Sorry, let's say this is 10 meters. Okay, so at 10 meters under the sea level, you are experiencing 2, okay, times 1.03 times 10 to the power of 5 pascals. One is from the water liquid, the liquid pressure. And one more is from the atmospheric pressure yang sudah ada. Okay, so every 10 meters, you're going to experience 100,000 pascals of pressure. Okay, so that's why if you see even the Olympic size swimming pool, okay, is usually no more than 6 or 7 meters. Okay, because who wants to go and dive all the way down? So it's like 6, 7, 8 meters maximum. Okay, you won't find 100-meter deep, 100-meter deep swimming pool unless you're training for diving. Okay, so water pressure and atmospheric pressure are experienced by the person who is diving underwater. This one no choice. You cannot say that, oh, bila saya sudah masuk air kan, saya tidak mengalami atmospheric pressure. That's nonsense. Atmospheric pressure is always around us. Okay, so when you go diving, you not only experience atmospheric pressure, you also add on top of it water pressure. Okay, so it's a lot of pressure for one person. So what are the effects of human beings on an extreme depth under the surface of the sea? So when we go and climb mountain, is the effect of kekurangan atmospheric pressure. Okay, when you go under the sea at extreme depths, these are the effects on over pressure. Okay, terlampau banyak pressure under the surface of the sea. Number one, your body tissue will absorb excess nitrogen gas, and that's not very good. Number two, nitrogen gas dissolves into the blood, also not very good. Okay, and this causes your inability to think clearly. Okay, so you see, even at both, kalau kau mendaki terlampau tinggi atau kamu mendiving terlampau dalam, okay, it affects your brains, okay, because our brains need oxygen to work. But when you go under the sea, our brain is absorbing nitrogen gas, which is not helpful to our brain. Okay, so it affects our inability to think clearly. Okay, and then what happens even worse is that we have nitrogen bubbles in the tissues or blood vessels. Okay, if the pressure is reduced too rapidly. Okay, and that's not good, because when you have nitrogen bubbles in your blood, blood carries oxygen. Blood is supposed to carry oxygen. Okay, biology lah pula ni kan. Blood is supposed to carry oxygen to your lungs and to your heart, blah, 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 blah. But if blood starts carrying nitrogen, it's not going to be able to carry oxygen. And when blood is not able to carry oxygen, you cannot think clearly, no? You cannot think clearly, you will find that you're hard to breathe. Okay, so that is not a very good thing. So that's why when people go diving, right? When they come up, they cannot come up very fast. They have to take their time to come up. So dia bukan sekadar cepat terus connect ke atas bawah. Cannot. Because when you do that, you form these nitrogen bubbles. Okay, you form these nitrogen bubbles, and you got no time to get rid of the nitrogen bubbles before you sampai the atmospheric pressure, before you sampai the surface of the sea. Okay, so you need time to get rid of all this nitrogen. okay, so that your body doesn't absorb this nitrogen. I mean, your blood is carrying oxygen and not nitrogen. Okay, so what are the things and the adaptations and actions to be taken by divers? If any one of you in the future you want to become a diver, these are things you need to think about. Number one, you need to do physical exercise, okay, to enable the body to adapt to a high pressure environment before diving. Because when you go diving, you're going to feel it. The number one place you're going to feel it is in your ears. Okay, kau punya telinga yang akan first rasa, kau punya gegendang telinga lah. Okay, the change in pressure is always felt in the ears first, and then your body. Secondly, you wear a diving suit lah to slow down the heat loss from body. Ini normal lah, okay? Nobody goes diving. Guys, remember this is extreme depths Ini bukan diving untuk mengambil tiram. Okay, diving untuk mengambil tiram. Actually if you've ever seen, I remember watching this documentary once. So there's this village in Japan, which is by the sea lah. Okay, wow, saya banyak membebel tu ni hari. Sorry. There's this village in Japan which is by the sea, and in this village there's this like maybe 10 or 15 very, very old ladies. They're like grandmothers lah. And their job every day is to go diving to collect oysters. It's quite amazing, It's quite amazing because these ladies are so old, Some of them can't even really walk properly, But they are diving every day. Okay, their job, is to dive every day to go into the depths of the sea to collect oysters. Okay, so next time, I mean, I don't know how many of you eat oysters, but the next time you eat oysters, please remember oysters not that easy to this one. But these ladies, they go and dive down and then collect oysters. But they wear this diving suit lah. Okay, and the purpose of the diving suit is not only to counter the pressure difference, but also to slow down the heat loss from the body. Because bila kamu pergi ke bawah air, dia sangat sejuk lah. Okay, so you don't want heat to be lost from the body. Kita tidak mahu haba keluar daripada badan kita kepada tempat yang sejuk. Remember thermal equilibrium? When your hot body touches the cold water, the heat from your body is going to go out into the cold water, and we don't want that to happen. Okay, that's why you wear a diving suit to slow down the heat loss from the body. Okay? And this is probably the most important. You slowly ascend to sea level. Let's say you dive 100 meters, right? Okay, you go down, you can go down fast, but when you come up, you must come up slow. You cannot fast come up, okay? Because you want to avoid nitrogen bubbles from forming in the tissues and blood vessels. This is very, very important. Okay, so that's why divers, when you go, I mean, if you ever go for a diving license, this is probably the number one thing that they would remind you again and again. Don't come up so fast. Okay, come up slowly. Because when nitrogen bubbles form in your tissues and blood vessels, it's very dangerous to us. Okay, submarine, we're going even deeper. So submarine is made of steel or titanium with a circular cross-section to withstand high pressure or surroundings. Okay, so submarine is able to go even lower. So the pressure in the cabin is the same. Okay, it's controlled to almost the same level as the sea level, which is 1.03 times 10 to the power of 5. Okay, even though outside is high pressure, okay, but inside the cabin is atmospheric pressure. So think about it. Kalau ada berlaku kebocoran dalam submarine, okay, everything from the outside is going to go into the submarine because of the difference in pressure. Inside the submarine is atmospheric pressure, okay, lower than the outside pressure, which is high. So the submarine and the airplane is actually total opposite lah. Okay, I mean, makes sense lah bahkan. Because asal kamu di dalam is atmospheric pressure. Kamu hanya kena fikirkan yang di luar itu adakah dia lebih tinggi atau dia lebih rendah. In the water, the outside pressure is bigger. So when there's a kebocoran in the submarine, everything is going to go in. Okay, so oxygen tanks or electrolytic oxygen generators are provided. Okay, so that the oxygen supply is adequate. Have you ever wondered, kenapa di dalam submarine diorang boleh rendam terlampau lama tapi masih lagi diorang boleh bernafas? Because there are oxygen tanks. Okay, and they generate oxygen lah. Okay, that's another technology to study on another day. Study the effects of atmospheric pressure extreme depth. Okay, so a diver who dives to a depth of 30 meters in search of pearl oysters, this is the one I was talking about, but the old ladies, they are wearing diving suits. Okay, not everybody is like this hero over here. Will experience a pressure 4 times the normal atmospheric pressure. Okay, so submarines at 240 meters is 25 times the pressure, 25 times of atmospheric pressure. It's a lot of pressure. Okay, so it's not very good. So professional divers can serve in the Navy. Okay, they can work as commercial divers or serve as recreational trainers at sea. So maybe after today's class, some of you will be like, okay lah, maybe I can become a professional diver. Go ahead. Okay, but remember you need to train for it lah. Okay, mana tahu kalau satu hari bila saya tua-tua sudah kan, saya, okay lah, saya mau belajar diving lah. Terus you can become my diving coach gitu. Okay, so in addition to theoretical knowledge and skills, professional divers need to undergo a series of intensive training, okay, in order for the diver's body to adapt to extreme pressure. Okay, so it's not as easy as, you know, just merendam kaki di dalam laut lah. Okay, sorry, I need to talk just a little bit about this one. So whenever we talk about applications of atmospheric pressure, okay, whether it is a vacuum cleaner or whether it is this is the apa ni penitis the pipette, pipette lah, the penitis lah, okay, the one that you use in the chemistry lab kan. The basic premise is the same. Okay, when the fan blows okay, the air will be sucked out. Okay, when you suck out the air, there will be a vacuum produced inside the vacuum cleaner. Okay, so that's why it's called a vacuum cleaner, because it creates a vacuum so that the atmospheric pressure pushes the dust into the vacuum. Just like the straw situation, just like the pelocok situation. Okay, and atmospheric pressure is basically anything, any application berkaitan dengan atmospheric pressure, okay, works on that same principle. Kita kena wujudkan vacuum. We have to produce the vacuum. And then we let atmospheric pressure do the job. So next time when you're vacuuming the house, people, remember it is not you that is cleaning the house. It is the atmospheric pressure that is cleaning the house. Okay, what you're just doing is you're just turning on the fan so that all the air will be sucked out, and inside here will be a vacuum. Okay, vacuum means no gas, no air. No air inside here, atmospheric pressure will push the dust into the vacuum. So there will be a difference in pressure, or the atmospheric pressure outside is higher than the pressure inside the vacuum. Okay, so the atmospheric pressure actually is the one that forces the dirt to be pushed into the vacuum cleaner. Okay, so same thing like straw. Okay, it is not you that is drinking the water, you know. It is the atmospheric pressure that is pushing the water into your mouth. Okay, so jangan kamu perasan yang sebenarnya kamu melakukan kerja. You're not doing anything. Okay, you're just creating a vacuum. And then itu saja yang kita mampu sebagai manusia. We can only create vacuums. Okay, literally lah. We are not sucking the water. We are not sucking the dust. It is the atmospheric pressure that is helping us, okay, to do that. Same thing with this dropper. When we press here, bahkan bila kita picit di sini, okay, let me see. When you press the dropper, the air inside the dropper is forced out. Okay, so all the air inside here is forced out. So apa berlaku? The atmospheric pressure will push the liquid in. Okay, actually that's it lah for today. Okay, I just want to remind you that whenever we talk about atmospheric pressure, especially the applications lah, okay, how you explain the applications is pretty simple. What do you do to create a vacuum? Okay, that's the only thing that you need to think about. Apa yang kamu buat untuk mewujudkan vacuum? So in a straw, you are sucking the air out. Now, sorry, when you suck the air out, you create a vacuum in the straw. So when there's a vacuum in the straw, outside atmospheric pressure will push the water into your mouth. Okay, so today, later, when you go for lunch and you go and drink your Nescafe Pink, think about it. Okay, you just tell yourself, actually, I'm useless lah. I'm just sucking the air out lah. Okay, yeah, I'm very useless. Saya tiada guna ni. Okay, I'm just, apa saya punya kebolehan? My ability is I can suck air. Okay, so literally, that's why people say you suck. Okay, because you're just doing that. You only suck air. Okay, you're not sucking water. You're not. It is atmospheric pressure that is helping you. So the lesson for today is thank God for atmospheric pressure. If there's no atmospheric pressure, you will still be drinking water like, using the glass and, trying not to, like what Wilson is doing. Okay, so thank God for atmospheric pressure. No atmospheric pressure, there'll be no vacuum cleaner, there'll be nothing for you to stick on the wall, there'll be no such thing as pelocok, the rubber sucker or anything. Okay,